Okay, I'm Paul Martin. I'm here to talk to you about Lecture 1, which is Understanding the INCOSE Certification Process. You're probably wondering, why am I calling it Lecture 1? Well, I'm going to go into that and explain why it's Lecture 1 as we move along here. But basically what this lecture does for you is go ahead and give you a good understanding of INCOSE proper, as well as the INCOSE certification process. All right. So also, we're going to get into the actual application process, what it takes to actually apply. The one that I'm actually working on in order to make it work is the actual Csep application. And the ESEP application is like super simple. I'll explain that as we go along. But it's the Csep application, which is kind of the hardest to do, and that's the one I'll be explaining. We'll be reviewing the key requirements to get the Csep certification, and that is basically getting an exam, getting your application done with education and experience, as well as the exam, the knowledge exam. And we're going to explain how I do have a boot camp coming up to help you prepare for that when you get a choice. I'm Paul Martin, as you can see by my face here, as well as my face over there. I've been kind of in the engineering realm since the late 70s, and became a system engineer, cut my teeth on DoD type scenarios, mainly the Navy, and worked for NEMA, the Army, back with DoD. And I've been an adjunct professor teaching graduate level system engineering classes, and involved in the local INCOSE chapter as well for quite a while. Mainly, I've been certified for both the INCOSE ESEP, which is the expert system engineering professional, as well as the CompTIA, which is the CompTIA's certified technical trainer process. But I've been teaching this INCOSE SEP exam prep course since 2009. Okay, so what is INCOSE? Let's talk about that. All right. So INCOSE's been around since 1990. It's actually fairly young when it comes to organizations out there, professional organizations. But they're around in order to try to really develop and disseminate the concept of system engineering, which is this interdisciplinary principle and practices that help you realize successful systems. That's what system engineering is, right? And so they want to connect us system engineering professionals together with educational, networking, and career advancing opportunities. And so they actually have been producing some pretty good state-of-the-art work products. I'm going to talk to you about what they are, but a lot of them are dedicated to help further our profession, as well as its mission in order to try to address complex social technical challenges and promote system engineering as kind of that solution to work in that respect. Their vision is better world through a systems approach. And so when it comes to that state-of-the-art products they were talking about, but mainly they have an annual international symposium. This year it was on virtual. Next year it'll be in July. It's always in July. We're having it in Detroit. The year after that it'll be in Hawaii. Well worth going to. It's a great place where we as system engineers get to join together and actually interact with each other. So it's and network with each other, and of course learn more and more about our profession. And one of the things about learning about our profession, there's a real good scholarly journal called Systems Engineering, and very good articles in there about system engineering practice, getting things better for our profession. Insight magazine is actually meant for INCOSE members. It's a good read when it comes to what are we doing as a profession and some of the trends and things that are happening in system engineering. The System Engineering Book of Knowledge is something that they work with in conjunction with several schools that help form a place where system engineering knowledge could be obtained and looked at. Worth going to if you have any questions, if you're trying to do integration or want to know more about embedding things, or you want to know about the latest in system science, the SEBOC is definitely worth going to. It's got a lot of good information in there, but mainly it's the references. I really enjoy going in there and then tracking down the references that they put in. System engineering has worked with the Object Management Group, or OMG, to work on a systems modeling language. And lastly but not least is the System Engineering Handbook, which is going to become fairly important in the next few slides, and I'll explain that as we go along. Another thing that the INCOSE product that they have is the certification program. So the certification program is this multi-level professional certification program that's this formal method of recognizing the knowledge and experience of a systems engineer, no matter where they are in their career as they work this. So there are different benefits that come along from this. Your community is actually creating an identity for system engineering, so important. One of the reasons that's important is because of the fact that system engineering, if you don't define it correctly, people will start using it in ways that really we're not. Like, for instance, well, this was decades ago, but back in the day, you could be a systems engineer, but you're really a maybe administrator for a computer systems. So that's slightly different. So we really are trying to clearly identify who we are so that other organizations and other companies and all will recognize us on that. Also, as professionals, we have now a place that we can have someone recognize what we do professionally, which is good. And we have organizations and institutions can actually start utilizing this certification as a thing to try to set them apart, which is actually important. So let me give you a little overview of what a certification. Remember, a certification is not a certificate. To tell you the truth, I can give you one of those at the end of my boot camp if you take it. That just attests the fact maybe you attended a class or something like that. It's not a license. That's something that a state would provide you. What it is, a certification is when you have a separate organization, an independent organization, attest your competency when it comes to perhaps some kind of profession. And what they would look at is your experience, your education, as well as your knowledge. And they would issue a certification attesting to that. And it's a great way for you to show others where you stand within your profession. Now, INCOSE is not the first, right? And you may have seen these before. Okay, this is where I'm going to ask you to give me a little thumbs up. Have you heard of PMI, ISC Squared, or IEEE Computer Society? And do you know about their certifications? I would love to know if maybe you've got one of those certifications. You could maybe put it in the chat. That would be great. All right, and remember where your reaction button is. It's right there underneath share screen, I think. All right. Okay. Wow, only a few of you. Okay, maybe it may be worth getting into this. There are a lot of organizations out there that actually certify their members in terms of their profession. So Project Management Institute is probably one of the more famous ones. They have a program management professional or PMP, and they have other sub certifications that are very similar to that. And then the International Information System Security Certification Council actually has a certification that will certify a person from an informational system security professional. And IEEE has a certification when it comes to software development. All of these are ones that are similar to what we do. As a matter of fact, we've probably did a lot of our certification for INCOSE was probably based on a lot of these that are out there. And as a matter of fact, it's multi-level. So what they've done is they allow you to start at the ESEP level, where all you're looking at is, did you pass the exam? Later on, you can get the Csep level. That's certified. That's where you have 5 years experience and pass the exam. And then much later on, if you have 25 years experience in leadership, you'll be able to get your ESEP. Now, these 3 certifications can actually be put into place wherever you are in your career. So notice down here, your SEP candidates, you could either start right up as an ASEP after 5 years, become a CSEP after 20 years, and some leadership aspects, you can actually become an ESEP. Or you may say, you know what, I've already got 10 years, let me get my CSEP. Or I already got 25 years, let me get my ESEP. So this is the route I took. I went and got my CSEP, and after about 6 years, I went and got my ESEP. All right. So you can enter whenever it makes sense to you. Certification by the numbers. We have almost 4,000 SEPs that are out there. 2,300 are actually CSEPs, a little over 1,200 are ASEPs, and there are some ESEPs as well. It's about 300 or so. And it started in 2009 and if you notice that we've actually started adding things like the ASEP, which was 2008. Over here, the ESEP, which was 2010 when that started. And if you're interested, by the way, I got my CSEP back at the very beginning, March of 2009. I was like number 177. Pretty proud of that. And much later on, I got my ESEP. They do keep my cert number the same, though, which is interesting. All right. But we're a rare breed because I don't know if you know this, but the PMP, if you throw a rock, you'll probably hit a PMP because PMI has issued almost 900,000 PMP credentialed holders that are out there globally that are out. Now, where do we stand? Well, compared to 900,000 here, our 400,000 down here, right down here. You can see it. And so we're kind of a blip. We're doing this kind of a niche thing, but we are rare. And so it is an extremely significant honor to become INCOSE certified as we're doing that. All right. So let me talk about the 3 of them. One is the entry level. That's the ASEP. That's basically the associated system professional. It's meant for junior or maturing system engineers. All you're doing is proving that you understand system engineering. So you're certified against the knowledge. Now you do need to be an INCOSE member. You'll find that's the case for every certification here. You need to be a member in order to do this. What's interesting about this one is you don't have to renew it for 5 years. Basically what they're hoping is that within 4 or 5 years, you'll actually transition to the CSEP. Now, to get the ASEP, it's fairly simple. You study up here, the handbook, take the test, and then you get the application, and then you make sure you join INCOSE, of course, submit your application and go, submit it to INCOSE, and they'll notify you fairly quickly that you have your 5-year certificate. Now, once you start this process, you have a year to complete it. There's a reason for that. That's mainly these, if you failed the test up front, you can take it again, but you can only take it 3 times in 1 year. And of course, the application's almost nothing. We'll show you that soon. So this should be fairly easy to get. There is the Certified Systems Engineering Professional. That's someone who has about 5 or more years of work experience, and they could substantiate that with references down here. So as well as their education. Their knowledge is certified through the exam, of course, and then you need to be a member in order to keep and retain your CSEP. This needs to be renewed every 3 years. So this is a little more complicated. It's kind of the same thing in terms that you do need to study and you do need to have an application. But the application for the CSEP is fairly extensive. You need to verify your education that you should have, as well as your experience. And then your experience has to be collaborated by your reference submittals. So you need some kind of advocates that will speak for your behalf to help you join. Again, the same type thing. You have to pass the exam, and then you need to get your application together and get it into INCOSE headquarters. The references submit the reference for you separately. After that, it'll take a little more than 4 weeks in order to confirm with your references, with your application. With all that occurs, you'll get a 3-year certification called a CSEP. Again, 1 year in order to get it done. Now, some people find that maybe it might be a struggle to get this application together, especially the fact that you have to get the references. And remember, you have to do it in a year. Normally, it wouldn't be a difficult scenario, but in order to give you some time, let you work through it. And we're going to go through the application so you can kind of get a sense of what it takes and to see if it's worth doing this. But doing your CSEP, ASEP, getting that rather quickly, and then taking your time to get your application together. It is more expensive, but you may find it's worth having your ASEP as you wait for your application to get done and to get your CSEP. Just an idea for you to work that. All right. Expert is a little different. I'm not going to go into detail too much about this. Basically, this is somebody who has about 20, if they're an INCOSE member and already have a CSEP, or 25 years if they go into it straight. But you have to substantiate at least 10 years, have some about 3 to 5 work references. You need to show leadership capability as well. So the application is much more intense. And so with that in mind, what they do is you put in your application along with your references, then you get a phone call, and then you need to actually talk to them and actually review your application. And they'll also call your references to double check. Again, 1 year to pass that. Now, one thing I do want to talk to you about, and we'll pause if you think, oh yes, good question, Alex. Is the exam same as the ASEP it is for CSEP? Yes, it is. Okay, so you'll see that as we go along here. All right. Oh, what I wanted to talk to you about is some of you may have been coming in here and you may be actually in some of these streamlined certification processes that have occurred because INCOSE has worked with these companies. And basically what they've done is they have an agreement that they'll go ahead and actually review the application prior to it being sent in. So if they would have perhaps a small board of 3 people, and they would review the things. The other thing is because the company itself can say, yes, we actually can refer to this system engineer because they work for us. You can actually drop from 3 to 2 references. So it's worth looking. If you see your company on here, go to your this link here, which is the certification agreements, and you'll see a name there that's for your representative. You should reach out to them and see what they can do for you. All right. All right. By the way, I'm recording this, so I'm going to make this available on the Canvas website. So we'll talk about that as we move along here. All right. Now, the other thing I want to talk to you about is academic equivalency, in case some of you are going to these colleges or maybe might know them. These colleges have worked their coursework in such a way that it actually meets the actual objectives of the INCOSE knowledge exam. And actually, the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, if you remember, I actually teach there, and I actually developed and teach systems 660, which is system engineering principles. And that's been recognized that if you take that class with me, you'll get the same content as the knowledge exam. Now, what's interesting about that is what I teach there is what I teach for my boot camp. It's not much different. Okay, so think about that when you think about my boot camp. Now, what is the process? I like to think of it as 3 steps. Now, I used to have a nice simple 3 steps. They've kind of changed it. I'll explain what that means. Number 1, you could actually go ahead and learn the handbook, take the exam, and then fill out your application, and then submit it and get your certification, be it Csep or ESEP. That's one way to do it. Okay. The other way you could actually do it is actually flip it around and say, prepare your application, learn the handbook, take the exam. Now, I'm finding it's a lot easier for me to actually go through that way. Now, I notice, Melissa, you have your hand up. So let me go ahead and ask you, you're a graduate of Naval Graduate School? No, you're here. Do you have a question?
Good evening, Paul. Yes, I do. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Melissa. Go ahead.
Yeah, that was my question. I am a recent graduate of the Naval Postgraduate. I received my master's in systems engineering management in addition to a certificate saying that. What I wanted to know is Naval Postgraduate is one of the programs that has the academic equivalency.
They do.
But the first question is, what is the academic equivalency to? Is that to the ESEP?
Oh, yes. Good question. Okay, and I guess I wasn't clear.
And additionally, how do I go about getting, I have a certificate, it says from Naval Postgraduate, but what I would like is one with the INCOSE symbol on there, as it is recognized more, you know, by industry than the Naval Postgraduate is. So that's my question. Yeah,
no, it's a very good point. Okay, so my point is this. Because you took Naval Postgraduate, and it should have been 1 or 2 courses that, or maybe it was the entire curriculum. I'm not sure how they do it. But what that does is wipes out your need to do any of this over here. So you don't need to learn the handbook or take the exam. All you need to do is do your application, show them that you did the Navy Postgraduate School courses necessary to bypass the exam, and you're good to go.
Thank you. That's all I needed. Yeah, but I wanted to understand which application I needed to do. So that
well, actually, that's a good question. I've never actually, I think you just fill out the regular application, but they know you took the exam. By the way, at the end of this class, I'm going to have an email that you can send to INCOSE and ask them if you don't see it in the
Okay,
thing.
awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And by the way, don't be afraid to talk to the INCOSE people who run these things. We only have 4,000 people that are. It's a small organization. They'll get back to you. They're really good about that. All right. All right. So what I want to do is actually talk to you about preparing the application. Now, this is going to take a while we do this. Number one, I wanted to show you what it takes to get your ESEP up here. Okay? Your name, your email. All right. That's all you need. Oh, and should be able to sign it. So you'll be good to go. So that's why a lot of people love the ESEP, because, man, that's super easy to fill out. Now, you still need the exam to pass. So this could be step 3, where you've already passed the exam. Now you just fill this out. Boom, you're an ESEP. It's that easy. Or you do the step 3 because like Melissa, she already passed something within one of those equivalencies. She fills this out. Boom, she's an ESEP. So doesn't have to take the exam. So very simple to do this. Now, let's go to the Csep. Now, the Csep's a little more extensive. A lot of students misunderstand how long it takes. It can take up to 20 hours. Actually, I remember filling mine out. It took me 2 or 3 weekends going to the library. Only because you're trying to rip apart your experience and put it into this form. And I'm going to tell you what that takes. Number one, you need to verify your education. Okay, so let's look at that. That's basically, and you need a technical bachelor's degree or some equivalent internationally. And by the way, on the INCOSE, there's a whole list of the degrees that they're looking for, but it needs to be more technical and oriented. And you can scan, copy, or photograph your transcripts. That's fine for them that they're on. Now, they may be getting more where they may get your colleges to transmit it. But when I started, I had to take a picture of my mother laminated this thing, and so I had to take a photograph of it and send it in. Yep, I got a bachelor's. See, but they just, and by the way, I understand you maybe you have a higher degree, like a master's and stuff. That's fine. But for a Csep, you just need one of those degrees. So if you have a bachelor's degree and maybe a non-technical field, and you got a master's in a technical field, they're interested in the master's. If you have a bachelor's in a technical field and a master's in a non-technical field, they're interested in the bachelor's, because they want the technical field. And all they want to see is that you have one. That's all they're interested in. Okay. Number 2, you need to verify your experience. Now, this is going to get a little more intense because you have 5 years of professional level experience. So they're looking for those amount of months that you have actually have experience in these 14 functional areas. We're going to talk about that. And you need at least 1 year experience in each of 3 or more of the 14 functional areas. Now, they want you to show that you kind of are performing some, not all of them, but they want to see that you're kind of broadening your breadth of your system engineering. So you can't go in and say, I've done a lot of work in one area. Like, let's say you do a lot of work in testing, let's say, or verification, validation or something. That's fine, but they want to see you jumping out of that and maybe getting into requirements, maybe configuration management and other things. So we'll talk about what that means. Now, the 14 areas, what are they? Basically, what you're going to do is actually pull this out of, let me see if I can pull this up. Here it is. There we go. Okay, so these are the 14 areas that they talk to. There's technical competencies for system engineering. These are the kind of the main technical things that we do as system engineers: requirements management engineering, systems and design, decision analysis, architecture and design work, systems integration, verification, validation, system operation and maintenance. Now that's doesn't mean you operate and maintain it. It means you design the operation, and maybe you support the operation, or maybe you design the maintenance aspect of things. But those are things that you would work. And then management is like planning, perhaps even down here with information and configuration management. Support competencies, that's like specialty engineering or project enabling activities, like supporting a simulator or something for what you're working with, or modeling. And then there's plus other. You can allow whatever you feel would pertain to system engineering. But they're trying to see, do you have a balance of these? So what they're looking for with these, and by the way, you should look at Appendix Attachment A. You should read it thoroughly, because what you're going to do when you read through it, you'll say to yourself, oh, yeah, I've actually done some of this architecture design development, right, that you're doing. So reading that and being able to express that with these type words would be very helpful. So I actually pulled it up here. This is what Appendix A looks like that we're working in here. Let me get this in so you can see it a little closer. But as you can see, Attachment A, this, by the way, is the form that actually informs you how to fill out your application. And as you can see, they have all 14 here. So all the way from requirements to acquisition, to information, to specialty, to other, as you work in this. All right. So it would be really good for you to read that as you're doing it, as you're doing this. So here they all are. I put them in here. I'm going to provide these slides as well as this video on my Canvas course that you guys have access to. And we'll show you how to get into that at the end here. Just one more time to explain what we're talking about. They're looking for 12 months or more of these, at least three of these functional areas. Okay, so you could have a functional area here. You were doing some design work, and here it maybe you did some configuration management. A3, you kind of really went into the verification one down here. Technical planning, verification and validation. You really stayed there for 3 years. That's good. That's three of them, 12 months each. That's good. Or you may find yourself after verification validation, you did 2 years of integration or something like that. Or vice versa, as you go down. As you can see, all they're looking for is at least 3 of these are 12 months each. It can't be 14 of these at 2 months each. That's not what they don't feel you've done enough. So you actually have to show that experience for each of those. Now to do that, you have, first of all, download the forms, go to the website. And by the way, when you go to the website, you'll see, and actually, I think I'm going to show this to you because you guys have probably been to the website many times. I've lost my mouse. There it is. There we go. You've probably been to the website many times. Basically, what you just go up here and click the little hamburger thing. And here, this is the entire area of system engineering certification. And you notice here it says certification forms, but if you just go to certification here, it'll go in and you'll see certification forms over here. So go ahead and click on that. and you'll get this page here, and just download all the forms that you need. And the forms that you need, especially the one with the Appendix A, is the instructions on completing the form right here. So it's Form 2 that you'll be doing. All right. So download them from the website. So what you'll get is your application, of course. You get instructions on filling it out. That's Form 2, and that has Appendix A on it. Instructions to your references. That's very important. And then your references have to endorse you. And so you need to download that as well. Once you download, and what I'm looking at is up here, this individual application, you start filling it out. Actually try to understand where you stand within those 14, within these 14 areas here, right? So read this thoroughly and figure out where you belong, okay? And you take your work experiences wherever they've been and you bucketize them. It says, oh yeah, I did do some of that. And then you break them out and you put them in there and you describe them. Now you do need to figure out how many months you spent on these things. So what I find is the best way to do it is say, oh yeah, I had 2 years with that one company or with that one division. And I was doing a lot of requirements and CM, and I did some verification and validation. Validation, I did about 50% of the time. The other two was about 25%. So take 24 months, figure out 50. So one was 12 months. The other two were 6 months each. Boom, you're done. So just try to think of a good way to estimate what your amount of time you spent during these things. So what you would do is, first of all, you would actually put in, you know, where is it you worked? And don't forget, you need in here, in terms of who your supervisor is and things like that. They do audit these. They can actually go there and actually start auditing them. So keep in mind, make sure all this is pretty accurate so people can do it. Now, what you'll do is say, I was in this position for, like you should notice here, 23 months. The reason they do that is that they're looking to put that into the bottom of the cell of the matrix. And they want to make sure that whatever you say you did, that you're not exceeding it. So that's one of the reasons you have to know how many months. And by the way, it calculates it when you're here. Now over here, you'll actually select, well, okay, I did requirements engineering, right? I did 3 months there. And I explained what I did, all right? In technical planning, I did 4 months there. And notice I did that. So these months actually get already put into the matrix. What is this matrix I keep talking about? Well, it's right here. It's part of the application. And notice that P1 right here, oops, sorry, P1 right here is what this is up here, position 1. All right. And you said, well, I was in position 1 for 23 months, but I only did 12 months of system engineering. So what did you do for the other months? I don't know. Were you on the bench? Were you doing something other than system engineering? Maybe. But what's good is that this doesn't add up to 25 months. That means you did it wrong. So you have to go back and think, well, maybe I misunderstood. So sometimes people think, well, wait a minute, I did 2 months of requirements at the same time I was doing verification, validation. Can't I do both? No, it's either 50-50 each, or you did 25 one or 50 of the other. So you got to figure it out as you go in percentage-wise, as you go in, and make sure it adds up. Now, what they're doing, notice here for position 1, 2, and 3, they filled everything out. Okay. Down below, notice that they do not have over the amount of in the position and the months that they actually are documenting. And what they do is very simple. All they do is look for 12, 12, 12. That's all they're looking for. Okay. Here they have more than 12, more than 12, more than 12, more than 12. And they're more than 5 years. So they're good to go. So for them, this is a quick way for them to go in and verify you meet the requirements, and for you too. So as you're going through this and this is filling up and you've got 12, 12, 12, you don't have to keep going. You can stop at P2 or P3 or P4. Now, when I did mine, I stopped at P3. It turns out I actually didn't have the 12, 12, 12. I don't know why I wasn't thinking that. I had to go back and do one more position, and then I knocked it out of the park. But then instead of going 5 years back, I went 10 years back. So that's one thing I did. All right. So so all these forms you can get as you're going to get them. Oh, by the way, yeah, that's right. I forgot to tell you this. In the certifications at the bottom, when you go in, there are some sample forms in there. I actually use those for these over here to show you how they work. But that's a good way for you to make sure you're filling it out correctly. All right, let's talk about what it means to get references or advocates, and what's that look like? You need 3 references. Now, what's challenging about this is your references need to be system engineers. Now, this is one where I made the mistake. Of course, this was years ago, but I worked for my program manager. I thought for sure they would appreciate my program manager, and no, they didn't appreciate him at all. Now, and they came back to me and said, we're not going to use his reference. I was like, what? The man does millions of dollars of programs. I mean, you're telling me they can't know, we want system engineers. Now, I should have maybe told my program manager, can you couch your experience from your system engineering standpoint? Because he did. He was a system engineer before he became program manager. So he could have maybe wrote his experience in such a way that he would actually say, I understand system engineering. I can attest this person that I'm recommending is a system engineer. But they fill out this reference form, and part of filling out that reference form is describing their knowledge as a system engineer that qualifies them. So make sure they explain and describe the number of years and types of systems engineering experience they have in order to do it. Now, if you find someone who's a Csep, that's good to go. They love that. So they don't even have to fill this out. They just say, here's my Csep number, and you're good to go. But again, we're a niche organization here, so there may not be as many out there as you can find. One thing you want to do is contact your system engineering, the person you wants to do the reference, and actually tell them what you're doing. Maybe ask them if they don't mind putting in a reference, and maybe reminding them what you did. Hey, I thought you and how much fun we had, working as a system engineer for requirements management for that space age contract we had, or something like that. So I have these examples for you on the Canvas website, and we'll show you that at the end here. All right, so that's all 3 of them. So we've now prepared prepared the application. Now we have to learn the handbook. What does that look like? And if you notice, I have a little note here. Maybe you might want to take my CEP exam prep course. I'll explain why. One of the reasons is to learn the handbook it's based solely on the handbook. They say it right here. We recommend you study the current version of the INCOSE System Engineering Handbook, which is the reference document for the certification exam. So that's the only book you need to learn. Now it is 305 pages. It's 31 processes, and it's a long, dry read if you've actually tried to read it. So where do you get the handbook? Well, guess what? If you remember, if you want to be an ASEP, a CSEP, or even an ESEP, you need to be a member of INCOSE. So that's $160 you already have to spend. Spend it up front and get this access to the free PDF. Okay, in the Canvas web portal for this class, I'm going to show you how you can get the handbook. It gets a little tricky on getting in there and working it. But I show you step by step how to get it. Once you have it, download it and you can start reading it on your tablet. Now, I suggest maybe, this is up to you, but maybe you might want to take it and actually make a PDF, get a little spiral bind there so you can open up and take notes or something like that, or highlight things. Or you might want to get one of these hard copies. That does cost about 70 bucks. You go through the Wiley store in order to go to that. So I believe that's this one here. You go there and you add it to the cart, and then you put in the let me go over here, and then you put in this INC 15 and you get 15% discount. All right. Once you get that, you can read it and on it, and I encourage you to do that even before you take my course. Now, I am having a course coming up. It will be online live November 8th through the 12th. It's a 5-day boot camp. And in there, we actually give you a complete set of lectures that cover the entire handbook. What I show you here is this is where you're prepping for the application, right? Here is the exam prep thing where you study for the exam and take it. Meanwhile, you probably might have a parallel, or you may do it after you pass the test. You have to actually do the application process as well. So that's what I'm trying to do, is get you ready for preparing your application. My boot camp is to help you actually prepare for the exam. So our lectures cover the entire handbook, and I actually will record each one of the lectures so that you can actually watch it later as you go along. So that way, actually what I'm hoping that I'll also make them available for other students that may miss the live action one, and they'll be able to watch my videos as we go along. And of course, you can watch them at your convenience anytime you want. So we're doing this, okay. The other thing is my comprehensive process flow diagram. This is something I developed about 4 or 5 years ago. I actually did it for version 3. I had to update it for version 4. It's one of the best ways that I find when it comes to actually be able to learn the handbook. And I want to apologize. You may have a question, and I have so many windows open. All right. Now I show we need 2K to have the cert. No way I can. That's a good point. All right. Somebody asked me a question about requirements, career study. What career strategy we have early career SEs to quickly achieve CSEP experience? That's actually a good point, especially here. Let me go back here real quick so we can cover that for you. And that basically comes back to the actual campus. Actually, that was too far for me to go. I didn't need to go that far. There we go. Down here, as you can see, the application process. Your application, you have to get 5 years of good experience. If you have your ASEP up front and you want to like really make sure your time is worth it, make sure you move within your company to other experiences, or always seek out other experience within those 14 areas that we know. So that's definitely something that you may want to look at as we're going through that. All right. So do raise your hand. I can see that. It kind of comes up here rather quickly, and I'll check the thing to be able to think. Oh, so what I do in my handbook is actually build the chart one process at a time. I start with operational, where you actually enable the project, agreements, the project management, and then the technical. So I start from life cycle all the way to life cycle management over here, all the way to perform disposal. So that's where we actually show you what all this means. Now, I know that as you look through this, you're like, wow, this is super complicated, but I'm going to take you 5 days to build this chart one process at a time. So you can imagine that it actually starts making sense. Actually, once it's all built, I kind of really push the fact, if you look in the center in here, that's the system engineering theory. That's your technical processes. And they're embedded or enveloped with your project management processes that you work. And then if you notice over here, we actually do some the project planning that we're doing. So all the projects there, all based on an agreement that an organization over here would have with another organization. So I'm really using this chart as a way to actually show you the context of system engineering and how the various processes interact with each other. I believe that my chart explains something that's in the handbook, but you can't see in the handbook because it's 305 pages long and it's hard to see these interactions. So I developed that this diagram specifically for that purpose. The other thing I provide you is exam questions. I actually have a pool of about 587 questions. When you take one of these quizzes and you say, oh, I did good on that, oh, let me do it again. You repeat it, lo and behold, the quiz is different. You'll pull different questions in and it'll be a different quiz. And you can do that as many times as you feel you need to in order to feel you're good to go. So what this does, now keep in mind, these came out of my feverish brain by reading the INCOSE Handbook, right? So I went through it and go, oh, that would make a good question. That would make a good question. They aren't, of course, probably the questions you'll meet. I actually have a lot of testimonies of previous students that took the exam that will explain when you read through them that the exam is looking to see if you understand kind of the processes and how they interact. So I think you'll find it very helpful. But these quizzes are really meant to give you a familiarity and comfort level. So when you take the exam, you know what to expect. You're not going to be surprised as you're doing it. Actually, you're probably wondering where I got the idea of these. Like, how do you know my exam questions are like the questions in the exam that you're going to take? Well, it turns out they do have sample questions you can read. Turns out that these are poorly stated questions, so you shouldn't study these questions per se, but they are representative of the format, and it does make you understand the structure, and it is this structure here, and they actually explain this in the frequently asked questions. They're multiple choice questions, right? They have 5 answers listed with 3 correct ones, and this shows you an example. Which 3 of the following methods are expressed functional behavior? All right, now I'm going to let you guys do this real quick. Let's see if you guys are listening and tell me which ones do express functional behavior down here. And just put it in a private chat to me, because you don't want your friends to know, right? Okay, oops, Phil, you gave it to everybody. Does anybody else think they know what it is? There's only 3. Now, what I'm going to do as you go through these, okay, a few been sending it to everybody. That's good. Now, basically what I want to do while you're doing this is the way I kind of teach it in class, because it's super simple. It takes less than half a minute for me to teach it and we're done. And then it's just you incorporating the idea. Basically what you do is you normally look for the things that you know are obvious, okay? Remember, this is expressing functional behavior. Well, it says functional here and functional here. So E and F is definitely it, right? But you're like, wait a minute, I don't remember network terms. So then you find out that you can scratch one that's obviously not right, right? So maybe this requirements diagram, we can scratch that out. And now it's between A and B. And you wouldn't believe how many, you're like, I know the 2. I can't figure the 1. It's either this one or that one. And you know, how many times you struggle with that? Well, it's behavior, because that's another name for function. So it is B, E, and F. I don't know. Some people took, oh, sorry, I'm clicking on the wrong one. So B, E, and F. Sorry, I'm looking out this way, because I actually should be looking this way. So it's B, E, and F. Some of you picked C. I'm not sure why. But what's interesting about this is that if you pick any of these wrong, you'll get the whole thing wrong. So they will penalize you. Partial credit is not given for an answer. So you have to get them all right. And then what are the 3 justifications? I'm just going to do it real quick for you. Facilitate communication, force evaluations, and control. You're not trying to prevent requirements, and you're not trying to encourage it either. You know, you do CM because you're facilitating, trying to make sure people are evaluating changes and control whatever those changes are. Okay. Okay. So, oh, by the way, CM is configuration management. Good point, Reggie. Yeah, good point. Sorry. All right. By the way, that is true. I do not believe this is a proper question. They will spell it out for you. I don't believe they will get into like they did here with a bunch of acronyms. I don't believe the test will do that. There may be certain acronyms that they expect you to know, but they'll once you go through my course, you'll pretty much get a sense of maybe what they'll be and stuff. By the way, I do have a study guide. I'm actually going to provide that to you to thank you for coming. I do ask you to go to the Canvas course that I sent you an email on, and I'll show you where that study guide is, so you can get it. This is something really good to look at because just all the processes before you take the exam, just to kind of refresh yourself as you're doing it. All right. So this is Canvas. Everything is in Canvas. And let me pull Canvas up real quick for you. Let's see, where is it? Oh, wasn't it? That's not it. That's not it. Give me a second. Oh, here we go. All right. So what I'm going to do is all of you should have gotten an email from me. Now, if you didn't, actually, let me see your hands. And if you got my email to get into Canvas, how many of you have gotten that? Because I'll send it out again if you guys want me to. Okay, I only got 2. Anybody else? Got 2 raised hands. Oh, okay. Maybe the rest of you are like, what? Okay, so I sent you an email that said, thank you for coming to the course. Oh, I got 3 so far. Maybe you guys are looking for your reaction button as you're doing it. That's good that you got it. It'll explain to you how to get into this class. You have to get a Canvas account. It's free. And once you do that, you can be able to go into here. Once you come in here, you'll see the welcome link. This is what we do. I'll replace this with the video I'm doing right now, and you'll be able to watch it later. Or for those who didn't make it, they can come in later as well. But what I want you to see is down here, I do give you application help. I give you a sample quiz, tell you my experience, some of the testimonies, and how to get the handbook. Now, with the sample quiz, what I do is I have a little PDF here, and that's the actual study guide. So when you hit that, it'll actually come up, and let's see if, and it'll have a cover like this showing everything. But basically what I do is show what we call an IPO in the thing. This is the input, process, output diagram. And underneath that, I have all the activities. I figure if you know this, it pretty much can help you answer any questions dealing with the processes themselves. And I also provide you a quiz. You can pull that up and take the quiz. It's just gives you the ability to try it out and see what it feels like as we're doing it. The other thing I would encourage you to do is read the exam testimonies from people who've taken my class. One of the things a lot of them do, you'll see that in there, they try to sketch out my diagram. Of course, you're not going to get super accurate about it, but it may be enough for you to get a good sense of what's talking to what. So that may actually work for you. And they also talk about the fact that the questions are kind of geared more towards understanding, like not memorization. They're actually looking to see if you understand more. I find that refreshing. When I was taking it, you did have to kind of memorize it more, but they've gotten better and better with the exam through the years. Well worth reading all these exam testimonies just before you get in, and you're doing that. Getting the handbook, I explain how to do that. You go in as a member, you go in and you log in, and you actually go to the INCOSE store, and you actually check it out. It's free. You get an email, and you just click it, and boom, it'll drop into your mailbox, and you're good to go. All right. And under the application help, I do have some sample emails and my own PDF, my own application in case you're interested. So I know you can get it from INCOSE as well, but you may find that is. Okay, so that is Canvas. So, and by the way, we'll send you out a thing. By the way, good question. What if you do not have a technical degree? I did not get into details, but when you're in the website, they'll actually, when you're in the INCOSE website, let me pull that up real quick. If I can find it. Too many windows. I've lost my mouse. Where are you, mouse? There you are. All right. When you go into frequently asked questions, it might be under there. Actually, Csep might do it. They'll actually explain to you what kind of degrees. Actually, it might be actually part of the application itself. But they'll explain to you that as you're, if you are actually do not have a technical degree, you need more experience. So you need to add 5 years to it. So instead of 5 years, you need 10 years. I don't know what you still need to show how many months per, they still want to see that 12 within 3 or something like that. But they also want to see a good smattering of where you're at, and that at the end you have 10 years experience. So, all right. All right, you guys have a lot of good questions here. I'll get to those after I'm done with this. So let me finish this. Almost done. Everything's in Canvas. Take my thing. Now, if you can go to Eventbrite, just like you did to get the ticket to come here, you can get the ticket to go to here. And if you use the code in Cosi 250, I'll take $250 off. So it'll be $500. Really big deal. I really would love to see you come if you can. All right. So we've learned the handbook. Now we're at the home stretch here. We're going to figure out how to take the exam. Now, this is one of the reasons I wanted to have this class, is I had several videos already in the tank, and I was sharing them with people. How do you understand the INCOSE process? Because the 1, 2, 3 is the way I used to do it. And taking an exam was you went to a place, you gave up all your belongings, you went in there, they gave you a pencil, a piece of paper, and they gave you a computer screen, and you did it that way. It was called Prometrics. Well, last year, they decided to go a different direction. And that's what I'm here to tell you. So now they're doing online, open registration for online exams. They actually don't care if you're a member or not. You go in and submit an app. You don't have to submit an application to get permission to take this exam. You can just go in anytime you want and take it. Now, you can only take it 3 times a year as you're doing it, because you may fail and you have to keep doing it. What's interesting about doing it this way is it will make you realize, do I want this certification bad enough to go through this process? So at least go and pass the exam. You're good there. And then you go back and start filling out your application. But at least you know you have that exam under your belt. I suggest you can book this when it's convenient to you. Take my boot camp and then do something shortly before December, like the end of November. So like give you 2 weeks to study what I've already taught you, and then take the exam. Don't wait much longer. You start losing kind of your ability to remember what I taught you. Now, you do register online, and you also have, and you register online by going into this link here. By the way, when I send you this brief will be on that Canvas site, and you can click on that. You can also see it on the website. It's kind of tricky to get to. Go to computer exams, there's a link there. Eventually you'll get to this point. And basically what you do is you register for the event, you give them your name, and they send you information about how to schedule and how to pay for it, okay? And it is online. It's about $80 to do this. It's online. You do it at the location of your choice. You have to use your own computer. It is live, so you'll be taking the test while you're being proctored. So somebody be watching you like a hawk the whole time. I think they may even record you. So while you're taking the test on the computer, okay? Now, all that is in this testing guide that you can pull down and read, and it'll explain to you how to do that. It explains to you what kind of computer you need, what kind of internet access and stuff like that. The exam itself is still the same. It's the same exam I've been teaching from 2009 till now. It's this 120 multiple choice questions, 2 hours in length, pass, failed right away. But the only difference is you can't get a piece of paper and draw out my diagram. You will be given online scratch paper. I don't know how effective that is for doing the diagram, but before you take the thing, they will want to look around your room, make sure you don't have anything that's telling you how to take the exam or anything. So, by the way, there is another alternative. For $30, you can take a pencil and paper. That's where you actually go in. It's proctored. Somebody's there. You're with a bunch of other people, and you take it by paper. You can check the exam events website. I think I just checked it before this. There's a bunch in China, I think, maybe. But it's worth looking at. Like if you go to one of those symposiums or workshops, they usually have them there. And you can encourage your local chapter to perhaps have one as well. So that's it. Step 1, 2, 3. We prepared the application. We learned the handbook. We took the exam. So you've actually got the application and you pass the exam. All that information goes in. You get your Csep, or if it's the name, email, signature application, you get your ESEP. But either way, congratulations, you've done it. By the way, there are some renewal things. Remember, this is 3 years and 5 years. And you need to have at least 120 professional development units. Does anyone know how many development units you need for a PMI, PMP? Does anybody know that? And you can type it in. Fidela doesn't know. Anybody else? Nope. Good try, Reggie. Oh, well, unless Reggie, are you a PMP and you're sure of that? So the PMPs I've talked to is it's 60. So we had to do twice. I don't know. I think the committee who did this they looked at PMI and they said, they do 60, we could do better. We're going to do 120. But I have to tell you, 120 is a lot. So it really is worth getting this educational log, bring it down and start taking notes, like what you've done. Now, there are certain things you get, like being a member, you actually get some PDUs a year, but actually attending a chapter event, for an hour a month, that'll give you a good 12, and within 3 years you get 36. So that's pretty good. Or 30, you get 30, so go to that. Going to a symposium, you can definitely get 72 while you're there for one symposium or two. And then volunteering at your local chapter, that can really give you a lot as you're doing it. And also doing some publications and things like that, as well as your job function might actually allow you to get some things. So look at these closely. Go to the website. When you go in, actually look down here, you'll see this little download. It's a spreadsheet. I suggest you take that, make it a Google Sheets, and every time you do something, go into it and fill it out throughout the year as you're going in. So worth doing it. Okay, we're finished up. We're going to take your questions now. And I just want to remind you, I took a lot of this information from INCOSE's SEP certification program overview that you can find in their resources. And Courtney Wright, she's been the program manager as long as I've been teaching practically. And so this course. So she's very good. You can email her. She'll answer you right back. It's not that she's not busy. It's, again, we're a small organization. Especially if you have questions about do this certification at incosi.org. That's a great way to get your answers, especially if you have questions about your degree and things like that. Or Melissa asking about the equivalency. What does that look like when you fill out the application? Which are all good questions. All right, let's look at what you have. Let me pull the chat. Okay, I think we're pretty much done. I can go ahead and close this out. Again, if you think of any questions, either answer that email that I sent you, welcome you to the class and giving you access to Canvas. And also you can go to those discussion boards, and we can try to keep it up as we're doing that. Especially when it comes to trying to fill out the application, if you have any questions there. Of course, INCOSE is very helpful as well, if I can't answer it, but I'll do the best that I can. Because really, it's not enough to pass the exam. I want you to pass the exam, of course, but I do want you to get your certificate. That's the big thing, not certificate, certification. Let's get it right. So we're doing that. All right, if there are no more questions, I'm going to shut this out. You guys can go now, and I'll just hang here if anybody wants to hang on a little bit more. So you guys go ahead. Meanwhile, I am going to drink my coffee while you guys go. We'll see you later. Bye-bye, guys.